What is the worst experience you've had at a hair salon? I have black hair. It was cut and styled in a way that made me look like Darth Vader. My lip was trembling as I thanked them and left. At least it wasn't like Vader without the helmet. I had my eyebrow piercing yanked out with a comb. I still have a visible scar. The hairdresser didn't even apologize. I showed her a picture of the style I wanted, and she says, "Oh, that's easy." Thing is, she only looked at the picture for like 1 second before turning away and never asked to see it again. My hair looked nothing like the picture. They burned the fuck out of my scalp and then brushed my burnt scalp with a bristle brush. I seriously had crater-like grooves in my scalp and had huge chunks of dead skin in my hair for around a month. Also, the time a man cut the bottom layer of my hair 3 inches shorter than the rest and I didn't notice till I got home. Girl, same. They burned the life out of my scalp. My scalp was in pain for a few days after. That's what I get for going somewhere cheap. I asked her several times if it was possible to do a hairstyle considering the length and thickness of my hair. She reassured me, so I was like, alright, cool. But halfway through, I noticed that it didn't resemble the picture, so I checked in with her, and once again, she reassured me. Of course, the finished product looked nothing like the picture. However, I wasn't angry with her. In my mind, she probably did try, but I told her I didn't like it, and that it didn't match the picture. And she said, "But you see, your hair doesn't have the same thickness and the length." Okay, but why didn't you mention that right after I asked you this exact question several times at the beginning? I mean, it sucked that my hair looked ridiculous, but that wasn't the part that irritated me. The worst part was that these two old women, who weren't even present at the beginning, raised their voices to have this conversation. Can you believe that some people think brushes are like wands? They used a brand name tea tree oil shampoo on me while I was getting a trim. My scalp almost immediately started burning, and the woman doing my hair started mentioning horrible dandruff as she was washing it out. I don't know if I'm allergic to tea tree oil or what, but it basically removed the skin from my scalp, so it was raw and open. For me, raw and open skin equals staph infection. So, a trip to get a trim left me needing to go get antibiotics. First time was when I was getting my hair cut before my 7th grade year in a brand new school. I asked for bangs and the lady gave me 1-inch long bangs. Traumatized me. Second time was 9th grade. My hair is naturally very curly and shrinks severely the shorter it is. At the time, my hair was at the middle of my back. I asked her to dye my hair black, emo phase, and give me a trim. She tells me I'm too pale for black hair, and that I'd regret it. She proceeds to dye my hair almost black ADDS highlights, and cuts my hair to my fucking shoulders. When I put my glasses back on after it was all said and done, I choked back tears telling her I liked it, and waited till my mom and I got in the car before I absolutely bawled my eyes out. Now, at 21 years old, my hair is 37 plus and I will not get my hair trimmed until my ends just look like straggly strings. I wanted to dye my hair back to my natural brown color from red. The hairstylist told me she would have to use color remover in order to do that. While I was sitting with color remover on my hair, the stylist started working on another stylist's hair at the same time. My scalp started to tingle and eventually burn. When I told the stylist, she said it was normal and that it wasn't done processing yet. It became so painful I had my boyfriend wash it out of my hair because the stylist refused, since she was working on another stylist's hair. When it was all washed out, my hair was nearly white and so damaged that it was falling out every time I so much as touched it. She offered to cut off the damaged parts, but ended up cutting my hair uneven, so one side was to my chin and the other side was to my shoulders. And she still charged me. I ended up having chemical burns on my scalp that used pus for months after, and my hair still hasn't grown back in some areas. I'm absolutely terrified to go to salons now, and I never get anything done except trims. She almost tore out my eyebrow piercing. She caught it while combing down on my bangs. It was hanging on by a thread of skin. She gave me a band-aid for the bleeding and finished the haircut. Didn't even give me a free cut. I was young and timid and non-confrontation, so yeah. So stupid. Even stupider was she had come close to that on our prior haircut, and I still went back. Idiot me. I have a scar now and hate getting my hair cut. I was 23 and went in for a wash, cut, and blow dry on a busy Saturday. After the wash, the woman repeatedly yanked on my hair with her comb while trying to get me to buy some unnecessary expensive shit on her counter. I declined politely to every request to purchase, and it pissed her off. She turns and yells across a packed salon, "Hey Barb, come look at this. This client has some kind of scalp issue. There's some kind of fungus growing on her head." I did not have anything wrong with my scalp, other than it being red from her vicious combing. I was in tears and left after she finished cutting. No tip was left. Because of that day, I only go to the hair shop like once a year, when totally necessary. So last year I went to a salon I'd been going to for months, but this time I get a new person. She starts off by telling me about how she melted her hair recently too, trying to color correct. I'm nervous already, but it's just a color so should be okay, right? Wrong. Whatever she put in my hair, when she stuck me under the faucet, it made my hair turn into a single giant dreadlock. I had near waist length hair when I went in. It took 6 hours and multiple stylists to pick out what they could, and then they started cutting chunks out to free the rest. This woman not only charged me for the service, but a haircut as well. I left with hair now uneven to my shoulders and severely damaged. No apology, no follow up, nothing. She once accidentally cut through the wire of my 7-pound headphones. Was a bad move on my part in hindsight. I've never had a client wear headphones while cutting their hair. That's really stupid. Well, I need to drown out the noise of the scissors and salon music and everybody talking somehow, and in-ear headphones is a more practical way of doing that than the big overhead kind. For my brother's wedding, the bride wanted us to all have updos. It was already a heated debate, because I have thick, curly hair, which is heavy and non-compliant. Of course, I was handed off to another stylist who claimed she knew how to deal with my hair. She did not. She used what could only be described as an load of hairspray and gel, around 3 dozen bobby pins and God knows what else to put my hair into what was probably the most hideous, plastered beehive-like bullshit ever. I was 17. It took forever to wash it out. I was still towel drying my hair on the way to the wedding. I ended up having to wear one of those chunky headbands to make my hair look feasible. My hair was still stiff and gunky the next day. I was 14 and I wanted a Rachel. I walked out with a Billy Ray Cyrus. 14 was a bad time. I was a tomboy who often had short hair as a kid, especially in elementary school. My mom usually trimmed my hair whenever it got long enough to annoy me. For some reason my dad decided to bring me to his barber when he got his hair cut and decided to have the ancient, very old school, probably blind barber cut my hair too. Apparently the guy thought I was a boy and cut my hair into a more exaggerated version of my dad's haircut. I'm not sure what it was called, but it looked like Elvis's puffy style from the 50s. If I didn't look like a boy before, I definitely did after that. It was the first time I had my hair cut styled by anyone other than my mom, and kept me out of real salons until I was almost 20. I went in to get partial highlights, which I've done multiple times with no issue. The stylist, not my usual person, proceeded to burn my scalp. I literally was yelling at her that my scalp was on fire when she was shampooing out the bleach. I wound up with chemical burns to the top of my head, and when I complained, they would only offer a deep conditioning treatment and recommended a product to help heal the massive flaking/peeling of my skin that I would have to purchase on my own. Needless to say, I never went back to that salon. Went in for a simple bang trim. She immediately wet my bangs with a spray bottle. I didn't have my glasses on. I blurrily watched her cut straight across my forehead. She dried them, and then they shot up another inch. I looked at them in disbelief. I paid her without saying a word and walked out. Proceeded to cry like someone died outside the salon. I already have huge self-esteem issues. I wore a hat for 3 months until they grew out to a normal length. Took me 6 months to find a new hairdresser. She doesn't fuck me up. I went to a new, to me, salon for highlights. The hairdresser burned my hair halfway up my head and it all fell out. She never said a word, just put massive curls in and dumped an entire can of hairspray on it. Wasn't until I washed it the next day that I felt a huge gap in my hair. I had a bad experience at a hair salon where the lady gave me crazy bangs and an uneven bob. I went to another salon to get it fixed, and as I was getting it cut, another customer came up to me laughing and saying, "What happened to your hair? Haha." She then proceeded to point and laugh more, and then reached out to touch my bangs. My hairstylist finally intervened and said she couldn't do that. It was undeniably the worst experience I've ever had at a hair salon. 3rd grade. Decided to cut off my butt length hair to super short. She accidentally cut a bottom chunk of my ear off. As a consolation prize, she offered a free blow dry. For the rest of time, until they closed, my mom and I have always covered our ears and hurried past when we have to go near that salon. It became a fun game, then a habitual tradition. In my senior pictures I have a burn on my forehead. The stylist that I went to immediately before the pictures were taken burned my forehead with a curling iron. When she placed the iron against my skin, I told her that it was touching me. She didn't move it until I started screaming that she was burning me. It was probably sitting on my skin for a good 5 to 10 seconds, which doesn't sound like a long time, but just go ahead and count out 5 seconds out loud. It's a long time to have burning hot metal against your skin. We tried to cover the burn with Mac-Ute before the pictures, but we didn't really have what was necessary. I didn't normally wear Mac-Ute back then, so all we had on us was what was in my aunt's purse. So yeah, I have a burn on my head in my photos.